Hello and welcome to April. I keep forgetting what month it is already. Welcome to my April wrap-up vlog. Sorry you're a little crooked. You're in my car. There's a tripod, or like a little tripod-y thing, but it's not great. April 9th, and I've finished 2 books over the last, today's Wednesday, since Monday. And I'm about to finish my 3rd, so I'll finish it tomorrow because I'm not going to listen to any more of it today, I don't think. But I need to come start this vlog because now I'm going through books fast. Mainly because the first 2 I read were library holds, so I had to because I only had a couple days left. First, I read Girl in Pieces by Kathleen Glasgow. I feel like lots of people have read this book. Or I don't even know if people that I really watch on BookTube read it. I have a couple friends, I think, on Goodreads that have watched it, or that have read it, but I think it's only 2 or 3. When I worked at the bookstore, that book was, sorry, I'm outside, so I'm like people watching and car watching. But when I worked at the bookstore, that book was always, people were always asking about it, looking for it, wanting it, blah, blah, blah. So I randomly put it on hold at my library for the audiobook, and then I was kind of not in the mood for it when it came up, but I gave it a chance, and I don't know what I thought it was, but it wasn't what I thought it was. Our one main character, and I already forget what her name was, Charlie, who we meet as she is entering this psychiatric somewhat hospital, kind of just home. I don't know if it, I guess it's a hospital, there's doctors there. I don't know what would be considered. And I think all the girls there were dealing with self-harm issues, and so we find her there after she has attempted suicide, and we follow her. I thought that was gonna be like the big part of the book, but that is a pretty short amount of the book when she's there and is getting help, and we meet like a bunch of different girls, and I thought that part was pretty interesting. But soon she's out of this place because of issues, and she doesn't know where to go next because she has a really bad relationship with her mother since her father died, and her friends, she was living on the street with some of her friends doing some shady stuff. Her friends aren't really around, but she does make a connection with her friend. She decides to go live where he's living in Tucson, and a whole nother set of problems finds her there when she finds them there. And it's really just like a struggle of mental health, somewhat addictions, and kind of falling into bad habits, people taking advantage of her, I guess. I don't know, it just wasn't what I wanted it to be, and I think maybe if I would have read this when I was a teen, I would have maybe enjoyed it more, but I didn't really enjoy it. I think I gave it 2 stars. I wanted to see how it ended, but I really should have just DNF'd it. I never feel, maybe I'm getting to the age where I can't even read a teen book, but it might just be like that. I think it's just that genre of teen books because I love a teen mystery. So maybe that's more of what I just need to stick to, but I wanted to see why so many people read it. And then I finished today Love Letters to a Serial Killer by, I think it's Tasha Coriel. I can't remember. I just looked at it and I have the memory of a goldfish. So I just finished that one today, and I believe the reason I picked that one up was because I was book shopping right before I finished working at the bookstore because I wanted to make sure I bought everything that I wanted. And I saw that one and decided to put it on hold at the library and not buy it. Trying not to buy as many books. Thank God I did not buy it, because what did I just read? What did I read? I can't even tell you what this was, and I'm really gonna have to go and deep dive into the reviews this is about, I can't remember our main character's name again. She's kind of struggling in life and doesn't have really good luck with men, doesn't really like her job. I don't even know how old she was, I forget, but kind of not a midlife crisis because she wasn't near the age of that, but just living with the crisis of like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life and I'm not really happy in any aspect. Then these murders start happening. I think she's in New York. And these murders start happening and she starts getting really into the true crime world because of them and wanting to help solve them. And so she's on forums, blah, blah, blah. This guy ends up getting caught. And then she starts writing letters to him in the slammer when he's in jail. They fall in love. They talk all the time, blah, blah, blah. And she is going to his trial. And that's going to be the first time they see each other. And she's in love with him. They're boyfriend, girlfriend. He asks her to be her boyfriend. One important thing I left out. Right, the opening scene is her tied up and this serial killer had already kidnapped her and it was on the way to kill. She could hear his footsteps on his way to kill her. And it was something like, I shouldn't have fallen in love with a serial killer. Boom, boom, doo, 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 like Law and Order stuff. I don't think she ever actually believes that he's not guilty. But maybe tricks herself to think maybe he's not guilty and I love him. She like stalks his family during the trial and then becomes close with them. She becomes friends with other true crime junkies and meets them, like true crime lovers, and meets them at the court sessions and all that. I don't know. I think it was it supposed to be commentary? I don't know. Was it? It did feel judgy and it did feel somewhat making fun of women, but I don't know. Like, yeah, it's insane that people fall in love with serial killers and killers in general, like after they've been convicted and whatever, caught. But I don't know, this book had me questioning if it was just pushing it too far. I don't know. I can't even really give you coherent thoughts on this because I don't know what I read and I don't really know my thoughts on it. I think it's a 2-star book. I just needed to keep seeing what happened. I needed to know the ending, even though I kind of knew the ending pretty early on. Or had the feeling of the ending. Not a great start to April, but the one I'm currently reading, I'm enjoying. Hopefully that's my max for bad books and the rest of the month is good. I will let you know. Okay, hello. It is the next day. It's April 10th, and I did finish my book today. I finished The 5-Year Lie. This is the first book that I've read off of my April TBR. But this one's a domestic thriller from Serena Bowen about our main female character is Ariel, and it took me a long time for some reason to realize how many Disney references there are in this, like name-wise, like way too many, to the point where it was giving Disney adult in like the worst way. You can like Disney, like I haven't, no whatever, but it was giving cringe. The other ones were outwardly very obvious and, well, not obvious, but commented on. Her son's name is Buzz because the father of her son had a Buzz Lightyear tattoo. And people in the army or whatever, I think he was in the army, called him Buzz, and his best friend's name was Woody. And then at one point there is a dog named after one of the dogs, I think in Toy Story 2. And then her name's Ariel. So it was getting to be too much, and there's probably ones that I didn't even pick up on. Anyway, we have our main character Ariel, who works for her well, we're getting flashbacks and current timeline. So in the flashbacks, she's working for her dad and her uncle. They have like the original doorbell camera company, and then we have like the 5 years in the future, aka or our current timeline where she's just working for her uncle because her dad died of an overdose 5 years before. On this random day, she gets a text from a number that she hadn't seen in 5 years. This number was owned by Drew, who is her ex and her dad and her son's father, who she believes is dead. It says something like, something's happened, meet me under this tree in the next hour. It all unravels from there. No one shows up when she goes to the tree, but it starts a domino effect of finding out about the 5-year lie and what has happened since he disappeared and her father died. For the most part, I really enjoyed this. I was actually excited to get back to it today, to listening to it. But then there was a lull there for a minute where I was just like, okay, speed it up, let's get to the next thing. There's a character named Zane in here that I like. I like the little nerdy sidekick characters often, and that's what he was like. I think I'm gonna give this one 4 stars, but it did lose me there for a minute. It was a fast, good mystery. This is her first thriller. Normally she's a romance author, and every once in a while when she was describing romance stuff, I don't know why, I skipped forward like a minute or two because I just didn't care. Even though I liked the characters, I just was like not in the mood, I guess. But 4 stars. I started listening to, not that this is like a vlog, but I started listening to House of Flame and Shadow by Sarah J Maas today. Once I finished this one, I probably listened to about an hour. And I basically just passed where I had read previously. I think I'm on page 75, and if I had to guess, I probably read like 60 pages before I put it down, basically when it originally came out. So, but there was parts I definitely didn't remember. There were parts that I did recognize and remembered, but it was good to restart. So that might be the next book I finish. I don't know. Oh, I look so extra pasty today. It is April 22nd now, and I finished another book yesterday, finally. I feel like it's been a while because I was reading this one pretty much all last week. House of Flame and Shadow by Sarah J Maas. I was just listening to the audiobook while I was at work, and my shifts were really short last week, so it took me pretty much all week last week, and like I think there was only one day that I didn't listen to it last week, and then all day yesterday to finally finish this. This is the 3rd book in the Crescent City series. It came out I think January 2024, and I started it I think pretty close after it came out. Just finally finished it. It's been on my continue reading on Goodreads for a year, so I'm glad I finally read it. I liked this one still. I enjoyed the first 2 way more than this one, but it was still 4 stars. Weirdly, it would maybe be like 3.5, I don't know. Weirdly, there was a lot of stuff that happened in this, but it felt boring a lot of the time. Some of the parts that I really liked are parts that I definitely can't talk about because they're a huge spoiler. It was decent. It wasn't bad by any means, but it just was definitely not my favorite in the series, and I think it would be my least favorite in the series. Actually, I know it would be my least favorite in the series, even though there was some really fun factors and redeeming factors of this. I liked that we got to see more from a bunch of different people's perspectives. That was fun. It wasn't just Bryce. I think last book was like that a bit more as well, but I think we got into even more POVs in this one, and I liked that. A lot happened in their world in this book, so I'm interested to see how those develop and grow throughout the next books, because I think this is supposed to be like a 7-book series, I want to say. I could be wrong. I'm glad I finally got this huge chunker off of my TBR. I'm off school this week and next week, so I'm gonna do a little readathon, I think. So you'll see some more books coming in faster, hopefully this weekend and the rest of this week, but one big one down. Okay, hello everyone. It is April 24th and I finished a couple more books. As I mentioned, I'm doing a readathon kind of thing, so I have 2 more books today. I read Harriet Tubman Live in Concert, I believe this is the full title, by Bob the Drag Queen, who is one of my favorite drag queens ever. So I knew I had to read his book when it came out. This is a short little novel about a world where Harriet Tubman and I don't think it ever specifies what other important historical figures come back as well, but she comes back from some magical way. So does, I think it's 4 or 5 of the people that she led to freedom. And she is wanting to do a Broadway-esque performance and about her life. And so she gets the help of, I think it's Darnell, who is previously a Grammy-winning producer, but 10 years ago he was outed by someone on TV, and that kind of put his whole career in a tailspin, and he doesn't really understand why, but Harriet Tubman wants to work with him specifically. So they come together to write the songs for this production, and it helps Darnell grow quite a bit in his own way of thinking, kind of heal in a way from his past. A fresh, dynamic novel about love, freedom, salvation, and music. They not only mount a show that will take the country by storm, but confront the horrors of both their past and learn to find a way to a better future. And I really enjoyed this one. It was super quick. It didn't have too much going on. I don't know, I just thought it was a really good story, and I listened to it, which was, I think, a great way to enjoy it. 1, because Bob narrates it, but 2, at the very end, there is 2 songs. In the book at one point, there is a little bit of singing. That part made me want to cry. I don't know why, but it hit me. But I really enjoyed this one. I ended up giving it 5 stars. I couldn't decide if it was 4 or 5 stars, but I didn't really have anything I didn't like about it. So that one was one of my most anticipated releases for the year. So I'm glad I got to it right away. I was just waiting for the hold from the library to come in, so I got to that one. I really enjoyed it. Then I finally read Made in Korea by Sarah Suk. This is a contemporary romance, teen, young adult contemporary romance about these 2 competing businesses at a school that both sell K-beauty-esque kind of stuff. And he is, I think his name was Wes. He's new and he is trying to get money to pay to go to music school because he knows his parents don't approve, and so they won't pay for any of that. And Valerie is trying to save money to take her grandma to Paris for this once-in-a-lifetime trip. And so they're like enemies to lovers, obviously not like fantasy enemies to lovers, but like rivals, I guess you could say, business rivals. And I'm glad I finally read this one because I've had it on my TBR for so long, I think since 2021 at least, and I did enjoy it, but it was just fine. Like, I think I give it like a 3.5 star rating. Nothing, it's just kind of boring at certain parts. I still enjoyed it. I liked both of the characters and seeing their lives and what they're going through and the hardships that their parents and their family in general and the expectations of parents, how they're struggling with that. I did enjoy that perspective as well, but it maybe just could have been a tiny bit shorter. I'm trying to make my way through my physical TBR, but all my library holds are coming in at once, and most of them are books that I don't own because that's what I use my library card for, so I don't buy certain books. But it's not helpful when all the holds come in at once. It is still the 24th, but I finished another book today and I want to talk about it while I have it in my noggin very fresh. So I read Our Infinite Fates by, now I already forget who the author was, Laura Steven. This one is a YA fantasy about, the description says, they've loved each other in 1,000 lifetimes, they've killed each other in every one. I can't remember, I already forget how they pronounce her name. Evelyn? Not Evelyn, but Evelyn remembers all her past lives. She also remembers that in every single one, she's been murdered before her 18th birthday by Arden, a supernatural being whose soul and survival is tethered to hers. The problem is that she's quite fond of the life she's in now, and her little sister needs her for bone marrow transplants in order to stay alive. She wants to save her sister. She'll have to find the centuries-old devil who hunts her through each life before they find her first, figure out why she's being hunted, and finally break their curse and try not to fall in love. So I was still working at the bookstore when this one came out, and I remember seeing it come in like the day that it came out, and I was very intrigued by it. I took a picture of it. I was trying not to buy books, so I didn't, but I remember seeing it, and the outside of the book was very intriguing, and so I read the synopsis and I was very intrigued by this one. And I was looking on my Skip the Line hold at my library and it came up on there, so that's why I read it. Here's the thing. My hand looks huge when I do that. Compared in the description to The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which is one of my favorite books I've probably ever read in my life, and that did a disservice to this book. I see why the connection was there, very much so. I can understand the comparison. However, I just think it did a disservice because I was expecting Addie LaRue level. And that's not to say I didn't enjoy this book, but I didn't love it, and I think I was just expecting a little bit more because I wanted it to make me feel the way Addie LaRue made me feel. And unfortunately, it just didn't. I think the idea just needed to be like fleshed out a little bit more, as well as it, like, I think it could be longer. I normally think books could be shorter, or should be shorter, but I think this one could have been a bit longer, only if it was intentionally longer and like explored their relationship a little bit more, because for a lot of it I didn't really feel the love that was supposed to be happening between them, because we only really got a snapshot of them being together the day that they died every single time, so we didn't get to see them falling, like them being in love with each other. They just know that they are, I guess. Just as soon as they realize that it's that other person, then they're in love with them. I don't know. I just didn't feel that connection between the two main characters as much as I wanted to. And I don't know, I just felt like I didn't get to know the main character that well either. And I don't know if it's just because, well, I was gonna say because she's a different person in every lifetime and she only lives to 17. But I read teen books where I feel like I know the main character more. So it doesn't really have to do with the age. I don't know. I wasn't disappointed, I guess. I didn't dislike this, but I think it's like a 3.5 rating for me. I was hoping it could be a new favorite just because of the comparison to Addie LaRue, but landed short, and to be honest, the ending was confusing at parts, and then also, I don't know the word for it, and all that part that was convoluted and weird, I don't know, and rushed, then didn't really make sense to the very, very end. I don't know. That's like something you can't really say because it's the ending and you won't really understand unless you've read it, and maybe you still won't understand what I'm saying because I don't even know if I understand what I'm saying. But I didn't love it, which is disappointing, but I didn't dislike it either. I loved the concept of it, and there were parts of it actually being done that I really liked, and some of the flashbacks to their previous life or lives were really interesting, and I liked getting to see all the different lives that she's lived, or not all of them, but a lot of them, and I think that was really cool, but I just think more could have been done with this idea. So yeah, but I wanted to talk about it while I could still think of what actually happened, because parts of the ending were so confusing, and because I just had such mixed thoughts about it, I wanted to come on here and give you a decent review before I forget it. But another book down. I still need to read 2 books on my actual TBR, so I don't have to put a punishment on my game for May. So I need to do that. Hello guys, it is April 26th and I finished another book yesterday. I read These Violent Delights. This book will also be in the vlog that these last few books will be in. This one is a Romeo and Juliet retelling in 1926 Shanghai. We follow Juliet, Psy, and Roma Montagov, I think. Juliet is the heir of the Scarlet Gang, and Roma Montagov is the heir of the White Flowers. They're kind of rivals, but Roma and Juliet had a previous relationship that kind of blew up, and she ended up going to, I think she went to the States. I can't remember. I think this is when she goes to the States. She comes back. Gangsters from both of their sides end up catching this madness that's going through Shanghai, where they end up clawing out their throats and killing themselves through that. They need to find out what's happening in order to save their people and the city. And it's looking like they maybe need to work together, even though they really do not want to, in order to do so. So I ended up not really enjoying this one that much. It was very meh, like fine, middle of the road, but I had no big feelings when it came to this book. There was only one scene where I really liked the romance or really rooting for it. Quite frankly, I did not care. So I don't see myself continuing on in this series. It wasn't bad, but I just wasn't really intrigued by any part of it. The romance or like the mystery or the rivalry. There at certain points I felt like there was way too many characters and I was mixing up who was who. Again, it wasn't bad, but it was just fine. And I want better books than just fine. It's really a 2.5, but I gave it a 3 on Goodreads. I'm glad I finally read it because it's been on my shelf since 2021. But I'm disappointed I didn't love it. Okay, it is the 30th. It's the last day of April, but I'll probably have one more clip in here. But I read another book yesterday. I finished it. I read Murder in the Dressing Room by Holly Stars. This is like a drag queen kind of cozy mystery. And I really enjoyed this one. I saw this one in stores and I just knew it would be one that I liked on audio better. I'm definitely glad I listened to it because I think it was narrated by the author, which I really liked. And I don't know, I think it just added to the story. So this one we follow Misty, who works at a drag bar, also has a 9-to-5 kind of job, but is a drag queen. There is a drag queen named Lady Lady who is iconic at this drag bar, co-owns it, hosts the shows and everything. Then she dies and they know it's from poisoning from some chocolates. And Misty starts doing their own investigation of the murder while people are maybe looking at Misty because they were one of the last people seen with Misty alone. I really enjoyed this and I'm definitely excited because it's a series now. I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. I thought the mystery was good. Like, I didn't think it was super obvious. I'm also interested to see how we got to see lots of relationships in this first one, but I'm interested to see how the plot runs. Like, some of those relationships go into the next one, and also how some plot points from this one will continue in the next one. It was fun to read a book about drag queens. I love drag. I think it's an amazing art form. So I loved reading it and I would definitely recommend it. So, and definitely the audiobook. I was hoping I would finish a book today at work, but it was chaotic and I just didn't get enough time to finish it. But I have one more book that I want to make sure I'm finishing it tonight or very early tomorrow morning. And I'll put that in this vlog. So it's May 1st, but I'm gonna put these books in my April wrap up, obviously, because I read more than 50% of them in April and I finished them May 1st. So I feel like it's just best. So I listened to Famous Last Words by Gillian McAllister, I think is the author's name. I've read Wrong Place, Wrong Time by this author, and I really enjoyed it, I think, until the end. I think I really did not like the ending. This one I ended up giving 3 stars. It's about a girl named Cam who wakes up to a note from her husband one morning, whatever, goes about her day, then finds out these people have been taken hostage in her city, and then she finds out they were taken hostage by her husband. And it all kind of unfolds from there, like, why would he do this? Super uncharacteristic of him. I don't know, I didn't mind this one. The middle just dragged for me. It felt very long with like nothing happening in the middle, so that wasn't my favorite, but it was a fine book. Either way, I didn't love or hate it. It was very mediocre, which is fine. I have one other book by her. It's the only one I own. Just Another Missing Person, I think, is by her. I have that on my shelves. So I'll get to that eventually, but she's definitely not like a fave author of mine, but I guess we'll see how Just Another Missing Person goes and see if I'll read from her in the future based on that, I guess. And then I read Caught Up by Liz Tomforde, or Liz Tomfordy, I don't know. Everyone says Tom Ford, but the 2 audiobooks I listened to said Tomfordy, so I don't know. This one's about Kai, who is a famous baseball player. He was slightly mentioned in previous books in the Windy City series, and he is a single dad. Surprise, single dad. This girl showed up with his 6-month-old one day and said, bye, I don't want to be a mom. So he has taken on the role of a single dad. Since then, he's tried to retire from the league a couple times, but no one wants to let him. He's not that old, and they're trying to find him a proper nanny that he won't fire for stupid reasons. Then along comes Miller, who is a high-end pastry chef, and she's decided to take 2 months off from work. She's in really high demand after winning this award, and she has been traveling to different restaurants and helping them. But she decides to take these 2 months off, and she goes to see her father, who is the coach of this baseball team. She kind of gets roped into being the new nanny, even though Kai doesn't really want her to. She's like 7 years younger. She's wild. Like, she seems like she's wild and crazy, and so Kai's like, I don't want her watching my kid, and then obviously things develop from there. I love this one. I think this is my favorite in the series. I think Kai definitely is my favorite male main character so far. I really like Miller too. The only issue that I had with this book was there was 2 instances where Miller was like pushing Kai in ways that I don't know that she should have pushed him, and I was kind of questioning it, and then I don't know, it all worked out and it all kind of made sense and whatever, but when they were happening I was like, I don't like those boundaries. I don't like her pushing those boundaries as much as she is. But then I was like, is he really setting those boundaries for real, or is he just saying he is? Does that make sense? Like, were they actually boundaries, or was he just like convincing himself that they are boundaries? Or saying, well, you know what I'm saying? That was my only thing with this, but it kind of worked itself out. So I really enjoyed this one. 5 stars. Never read a real baseball romance before, and I loved it. And the next one is a baseball romance as well. We follow Kai's brother Isaiah in the second one, or in the next one, and I'm really excited for that because he's kind of a playboy. I'm gonna try and get to that ASAP, but 5 stars for sure. Okay, so that is everything in my April wrap up. I read some really good books this month. I also feel like I forget some of the books I already read this month. Typical. But I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to subscribe and give it a big thumbs up. Both those mean the absolute world to me. Comment down below what you read in April, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!